For the last decade, the position of journalists has changed in the face of the globe. A big number of journalists have been experiencing threats, torture, and even death because of the work that they do.
They forced me to get the camera. I had not changed my tape, and then they took everything away from me. They destroyed it in my face, and then I had no evidence. I had nothing. I was beaten. I was bleeding. I even have a crack here.
We expect journalists to provide facts and truth, but most of them are forced to keep their mouths shut. Many journalists wish to be like John Pilger, who for more than a generation has been a stronger voice for those without a voice and a thorn in the side of the authorities. But how can we groom a generation of such journalists if the authoritarian government pretends in the eyes of the public to be fair while doing the opposite behind the curtains? Some journalists are betraying the truth because they don't want to end up in the fate of whistleblowers like Julius Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, whose exceptional courage and initiative in pursuit of human rights puts him in a very difficult situation of not knowing what happens next. Everyone has the right to conduct activities without interference. Article 6 of the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights Defenders of 1999 reaffirms that individuals or associations with others have the right to know, seek, obtain, receive, and hold information about all human rights and fundamental freedoms, including having access to information as to how those rights and freedoms are given effect in domestic, legislative, judicial, or administrative systems. Such good United Nations laws and declarations have been signed, ratified, and adopted by so many countries, including Tanzania. But it is sad they have failed.
Don't. No, go, madam. No, take your back. Don't handle me, I'm a woman.
Tanzania, where all human rights declarations are adopted, is increasingly becoming one of the most dangerous countries in Africa for journalists, as human rights violations, organized crime, corruption, human trafficking, drug trafficking, land grabbing, illegal transport and killings of wildlife animals, political and religious tensions continue to rise. There has been an increase in murder, attack, and arbitrary arrest of journalists who have sought to draw attention to these issues. State violence, which goes unpunished, has escalated dramatically. Impunity is threatening to become a norm. Tanzania regime today does not tolerate that journalists are writing the truth. Persecuting journalists is a trick used to silence truth and freedom of speech, hence unfulfilled dreams of democracy. Journalists in Tanzania are facing a big dilemma in their daily work. The dilemma gets bigger due to lack of Right to Information Act, which at least protects journalists in countries where they have the Right to Information law.
You cannot get a clean media out of rotten society. It's impossible. I've been in the media for the last 20 years. No one here has ever seen me collecting the envelope. No one. Anybody who is working for IPP Media, as the editor, a journalist, should be the last one to point fingers to others. Because we know whom they are serving. We cannot see a positive story on Lowassa at IPP. Why? Is this satanic? Is this accountability? Is it accountable? You cannot see any negative story on Kikwete in Nipashe or the Guardian or the Guardian on Sunday. Why? Is he as clean as that?
Recently, there has been shocking incidences of attacking media professionals and activists. These incidences pushed the production of this documentary. At the White Sand Hotel in Dar es Salaam, editors under the Tanzania Editors Forum are discussing the future of press freedom. I have met Absalom Kibanda, who is a vibrant journalist and a very confident person.
I've been in the media for the past 18, 19 years now. I started as a cab reporter back in 1996, going higher to the reporter, chief reporter, section editors in various newsrooms, from the old Habari Corporation to Mwananchi Communications, Free Media Limited, and back to New Habari, where I'm still working there today.
On 6th of March 2013, he was heading home at night when three unidentified assailants smashed the window of his car and pulled him out of the vehicle. These men attacked Kibanda with a gun and a sharp metal objects. He was beaten a lot and was injured seriously. He had some of his teeth and nails plucked out, and his left eye was destroyed with a sharp object. He also suffered multiple injuries on his head following ruthless blows from his attackers. The attack on the senior journalist was a result of his work, as nothing was stolen from his car. He briefly spoke about these incidences.
I am beaten, tortured, humiliated, suffered serious injuries, and am still weak. But there are journalists who are being killed. David Mwangosi was killed in September last year. There are other journalists who are attacked and tortured. Another Channel 3 journalist was attacked and seriously beaten by police yesterday. He was covering the workers' demonstration. Incidences like these are to be shouted to. They are not to be left to continue. The best way to look back at the incidents like this is to make sure that something like this is not happening to any other journalists.
It should be more and more aggressive.
While in the past, journalists have suffered some beatings, harassment, and even confiscation of their tools of work, this was the first time a journalist was gruesomely beaten and bombed to death. This is shocking, and journalists themselves have a lot to say regarding incidences of torture and journalists' humiliations.
These incidences have been there ever since, but now it's more inhuman. I myself have been jailed several times because of my work. In this country, when we record a leader's speech, he will order you to erase it. He will claim that it was a tongue mistake. I once wrote a story on Tanzanian Inspector General Police, but I was attacked by 8 police. They took me to my home, inspected me, and harassed me and my family, as if I'm a criminal. It is actually a very bad culture that we have started in our country. Though we had laws which suppress press freedom, we never had instances where journalists were beaten and tortured to an extent of being killed. We can see David Mwangosi was killed. Kibanda was seriously tortured. Shaban Matitu was attacked and he was shot by the police in his own house. Aniset Nyahole is admitted in hospital. His leg was broken because of his work. As old as our nation is, the media industry is going through a very difficult moment now.
Sekta ya habari inapitia katika kipindi kigumu sana hivi sasa. Ikiwa leo kuna vyama vya kuzuia ukatili.
Civilized countries have gone to the next level. Higher from human rights, as now they are fighting for animals' rights. But in Tanzania, even human rights are not there. Journalists and activists are just being killed by the police force that use our own tax money. This is not fair. If President Kikwete loves the police, he should give them drums and drumsticks instead of bullets.
A journalist cannot be safe and enjoy safe conditions of work if citizens themselves are not safe and do not enjoy integrity and security from the armed might of the state.
Haya mambo ya kutishiwa, ya watu kupigwa.
I receive a lot of threats through my phone. Some text messages says, "We will deal with you." And some are saying, "We will finish you if you won't stop writing your articles." All the threats are just because I do my work of questioning for good governance. They take away my freedom. They follow up on me everywhere, even to places where I eat my lunch. I'm not free. They set corruption traps to me. They set different traps to capture me, and I lose my own freedom.
Actually, it is threatening, but we don't have to be scared. We don't have to look back. We have chosen journalism profession. We have to move forward. We have taught that however pertinent a story is, your life should come first.
Mimi ni mhariri mkuu, lakini pia na maisha yangu binafsi.
I am a senior editor, but I have my personal life. I have to take precaution to safeguard my well-being and my family safety. My own well-being comes first. I don't like to be seen on TV. Even when you come to ask me to speak on your documentary, I told you I don't like to be seen on TV. Recently, our Editors Forum chairperson, Mr. Kibanda, was seriously tortured. This have shaken all of us in the media industry.
My wife don't like my job. When she read a newspaper and find an investigative story written by me, she will wait for me at home and tell me, "How many times should I ask you to stop writing these risky stories? You will put us in trouble." But we can't stop this. Let's take it as a challenge. I'm writing the truth. I'm calling upon other journalists to learn from me.
We have a question in mind. Why these incidences are happening now?
Kufunguliwa kwa milango ya kibiashara kunawaleta watu wa aina tofauti. Kuna biashara zinakuwa.
The country have opened door to international businesses. So many businesses have mushroomed and grown up. This brings different people in this country, and it gives chances to the growth of corruption, especially in issues like registering companies in Tanzania, living and working permits, tax exemption issues, getting surplus income, and so many issues which are making stories. Media business too is growing up. The demand for news is higher. All these are putting investigative journalism in danger.
Tunapaswa kubadilika. Si maisha tena ambayo tunapaswa kuishi sasa.
Watanzania wanataka hivi fulani akitoa fisadi nchi nzima iseme huyu ni fisadi kweli. Sio mtu awoji.
Most Tanzanians never think twice. When someone is called a thief, even if it's just politically, they will all believe it. When someone is called a hero, they will praise him as a hero. Tanzanians don't want to hear the other side of the coin. They find themselves condemning heroes as enemy of the people. If you unleash bad things done by the so-called heroes, you will be condemned as an enemy.
Mtanzania wa kawaida hana haki kukosoa nchi yake.
Common Tanzanians are not allowed to question anything in their country. Our leaders are treating us as if we are in the army. They want us to obey them with a yes, sir.
The legal framework in Tanzania is suppressing freedom of expression. The legal environment of press freedom is still complicated. The Newspaper Act of 1976 allows the information minister to close down any newspaper for any reason of national interest. This makes Tanzanian journalists very sad.
Mazingira ya kisheria, sheria kama ilivyo ni msingi ambao unawafanya.
A better legal environment is a foundation. It will help Tanzanians to enjoy their rights and fulfill their duties peacefully. But you have the laws that are prohibiting people to work freely and use their professional knowledge. It's very bad.
kidogo inakuwa shida.
For instance, we have the Newspaper Act of 1976. This is one of the draconian law that prohibits the enjoyment of the freedom of the press in the country. And remember the incidents which involved the banning of Mwanalisi newspaper. Of course, this is simply because of the presence of that particular law. So the surrounding environment in general does not provide a room for journalists and media, of course, and people in the media sector to enjoy the freedom of press.
Lakini pia tuna sheria nyingine ambazo si moja kwa moja za habari.
We also have other draconian laws which are not directly for the media, but they are used to prohibit press freedom in Tanzania. These are such as National Security Act, Army Act of 1971, Sedition Act, and others. All these are used to suppress the media freedom in Tanzania, and they are used to punish innocent journalists. It's very bad.
Apart from the Newspaper Act, journalists cannot access information of public interest because public servants are not obliged to do so.
Hata kwenye vyombo vya kutunga sheria tungetegemea labda bungeni.
In Tanzania, we don't have the right to information law. Tanzanians are missing the right to get information. You can now see, even the parliament, which is law-making body, they are thinking of prohibiting the live broadcast of the parliament proceedings, which is very absurd.
Matangazo ya moja kwa moja kuwafikia wananchi.
Katika nchi yetu kwa bahati mbaya, uongo na unafiki tumeweka mbele.
In our country, it's a bad luck. The leaders and Tanzanians are all hypocrites. We are not true to our own self. We are not true to our families, and we are not true to our nation. That's why things are not going well in our homes and in our country. Our laws are so weak, and our leaders see themselves as lords. They want to be worshipped. They want all Tanzanians to worship them. They pretend to be patriotic and adhere to legal framework, but they are not.
Wao ndio wanajiona wenye uchungu wa nchi hii kuliko Tanzania wote.
The current situation is threatening. What's the future in this situation where even a road to justice for press freedom is blocked?
Kibanda ameteswa na mpaka sasa hivi serikali inashindwa kusema kwamba nani kabisa.
Kibanda was tortured and seriously hurt, but till today the government has done nothing. It's a shame. Look at the Mwangosi's death. He was killed inhumanly under the supervision of the regional police commander of Iringa region. But you know what happened? He was promoted and shifted to another region.
Jeshi la polisi nchini kwetu likampandisha cheo.
Unajua inapotokea tukio kama la Kibanda au la Mwangosi.
When instances like this happen, the torture of Kibanda, Mwangos, and the rest, and no one is being held into account, it actually encourages more instances like this to happen again to survivors like me and others, unless these people, whoever they are, will be taken to court.
To attain true press freedom, Tanzania must agree to review the media laws and any legal environment of press freedom in the country.
For the future of press freedom, we also need now the two bills that were later on debated on their because of the content that they had. Of course, the stakeholders now should meet down and see how the two bills, the Media Services Bill and the Access to Information Act, because the major challenge we have now is how media practitioner or journalists can access information and the public at large. If you have the law that is in line with our constitution, the draft constitution and the constitution that we will also have, and the other laws, if you have the law that requires all the public and non-state actors to make information available to everyone, then that will be a big step when you're discussing about the future of press freedom in the country. Because we know a journalist without information, you are not a journalist. A journalist depends much on information, and government and state institutions are only custodians of those information.
Kwanza, lazima tutambue kwamba mazingira yetu ya kazi yamebadilika.
We the editors forums are doing a campaign to tell journalists that the working environment is changed. They have to be careful and understand that yesterday is not today. They have to know that their safety comes first, and their safety starts with them.
Usalama wa mwandishi unaanza na yeye mwenyewe.
Usiingie kwenye uandishi wa habari kwa sababu tu labda ni fashion.
Don't enter journalist professional as a fashion or just an attachment. Enter this profession knowing that it's a serious job and it needs you to be very professional and consider the ethics.
Misingi na kanuni za ule uandishi.
Kwa wamiliki kama wameamua kuanzisha vyombo vya habari.
My call to media owners, since they have started media houses, they have to agree to work closely with the journalists they have employed. They also have to abide with media policies and national policies. They have to give all the benefits and rights to journalists.
Na pia kuwapa haki stahiki.
While waiting for the government to review the laws, what should media professionals do? Sit down, scared, and wait for the situation to be better, or move forward, boldly, and demand for their rights?
Today, media houses are scared to write the truth. Take an example of the battle on drugs. Journalists are scared because that's a risky point to touch. It's a business of the untouchable. These people are sponsoring these groups of killers. They can kill anyone who touches them.
Matukio ya waandishi wa habari kuteswa, kupigwa, kutekwa.
All these incidences of torture, humiliation, nail plucking, eyes plucking, teeth plucking, beatings, arrests, and killings should not make us give up. This should not make journalist trainees give up. They have to join their effort and say no to such incidences. If they get scared and keep quiet, they will have more incidences seriously than this. So we better join our strength and demand for a change.
The power to change the status quo is in the hands of Tanzanians who can vote and choose responsible leaders.
Kitu chote kizuri hakipatikani kwa njia rahisi. Struggle is the meaning of life. The future of victory is in the hands of God. But struggle itself should be a man's joy. Samora Machel alisema aluta continue.